Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
This is not a story about money or gold, but about a different kind of wealth. When Pope Francis died, news reports talked about his achievements and leadership, but far from Rome, one woman mourned quietly. Maria Elena Bergoglio, the Pope's only living sibling, had kept quiet for years while her brother led millions of Catholics. She finally spoke up after her brother's death. She stated, "He left us with something much deeper, which is why we are sad." This is the story of Jorge Mario Bergoglio as told by his sister. Instead of leaving behind money or treasures, Pope Francis left behind letters, memories, sacrifices, and love, which made his family cry. Maria Elena remained silent during her brother's public appearances at the Vatican and meetings with world leaders. Now that he has left, she is ready to speak in her first interview. Maria Elena shared stories about the real man behind the popes. Robes to the world. He was Pope Francis. To her, he was Jorge, her brother, who always looked out for her. Growing up in a small house in Buenos Aires. Their family didn't have much money, but they had each other. Jorge was the oldest son after their brother. Alberto died young. He became the family leader, especially after their father passed away. He worked harder, helped their mother, and kept everyone together. He wasn't famous to me, Maria Elena says with a smile. He was just my big brother who read me stories and taught me how to pray. Even as he moved up in the church, Maria Elena stayed in the background. She wanted him to focus on his work without worrying about her. But the distance was hard as he became bishop, then archbishop, and finally Pope. She watched from far away, proud but missing him terribly. I understood his calling, she says with tears in her eyes, but I miss the brother I used to laugh with at our kitchen table when Jorge became Pope Francis in 2013. Everything changed. Overnight, he now belonged to the world, but now that he's gone, Maria Elena aims to share the true tale, not just about a pope, but about a man who gave everything he had. The Bergoglio family home was small, a simple house in Buenos Aires. This is where Jorge first learned the values that shaped his life. Maria Elena remembers their childhood clearly. Our mother taught us to live simply. She explains Jorge took that lesson to heart more than anyone. Even as a young boy, Jorge showed signs of the humble leader he would become when other boys dreamed of becoming rich and important. He was thinking about how to help others. He often brought home friends who had nowhere to go, asking his mother to feed them too. We didn't have much, Maria Elena says, but Jorge always shared whatever we had before becoming a priest. Jorge worked regular jobs. He was a chemical technician and even worked as a bouncer at a nightclub. Maria Elena laughs. When people are surprised by this, he knew real life. She explains that's why he could talk to ordinary people so well. At 21, Jorge felt called to religious life. During confession at church, he had a spiritual experience that changed everything. He decided to become a Jesuit priest, a group known for helping the poor. Jorge's mother was proud but worried when he told her about his decision. As he rose through the ranks of the Catholic Church, becoming Father Bergoglio, bishop, archbishop, and cardinal, he stayed close to his family but saw them less often due to his busy work schedule. They communicated via phone. Maria Elena recalls simple conversations with the cardinal, who did not discuss church politics or difficulties, but rather inquired about her happiness and needs when she visited him at his official residence. Jorge, the cardinal, was known for his simplicity and humble demeanor. He chose to live in a small flat instead of the fancy bishop's residence, cooked his own meals, and used public transportation to help the poor. Some questioned his humility. According to Maria Elena, he was raised to be the person he is today. However, Francis changed everything. She recalls hearing the news and almost fainting when Bergoglio was announced as Pope. She did not attend the ceremony because he asked her not to. He said, "Save your money, I'll still be yours." Jorge encountered new hurdles in their relationship with Pope Francis, including security issues that made casual visits impossible. To communicate, they used handwritten notes, as shown by Maria Elena. He preferred writing, stating that it helped him clarify his thoughts. These letters are now archived. Maria Elena's items reveal a side of Pope Francis that few have seen. He remembered family birthdays, inquired about neighbors and acquaintances, and expressed feeling overwhelmed by his obligations without complaining. But sometimes I could tell when he was tired or worried, and I prayed for him every day. Francis's simple lifestyle as Pope surprised many, but not his sister. He refused to live in the fancy papal apartments and instead chose a simple room in the Vatican guest house. He wore plain black shoes instead of traditional red ones, carried his own bags, and paid his own bills. The news referred to it as his small revolution. Jorge's simplicity extended to all he had, unlike many international leaders who collect riches and property. Pope Francis donated nearly all of his $2,500 monthly salary to charity and those in need. Maria Elena receives a package containing a silver cross and a prayer book from her late husband. Critics argue that his simplicity was for show, but Maria Elena argues that he lived simply because he believed too much wealth hurts the soul and was not pretending to be a pope. Jorge recognized the impact of unfair economic systems on regular families. However, some wealthy church donors disagreed with his message. According to Maria Elena, although running a wealthy organization, Jorge did not prioritize donor satisfaction and instead focused on God. Pope Francis lived as if he were impoverished, with few personal requirements. His only pleasure was the odd cup of mate, a native Argentine tea that he enjoyed. People would give him expensive gifts. According to Maria Elena, Pope Francis used to politely greet people before giving them presents. However, as he grew older, he experienced health issues. His sister was concerned about him after he had a part of a lung removed when he was young. I begged him to slow down as his breathing became more difficult as he grew older, but he refused. Maria Elena recalls that her brother expressed fatigue in private letters but refused to publicly complain. He reportedly said, "The Church doesn't need a healthy pope, it needs a faithful one." Despite his health challenges, Pope Francis maintained an active schedule, visiting many countries, meeting international leaders, and addressing global issues. He slept only a few hours each night, waking up at 4:30 a.m. to pray before beginning his day. I'm not sure how he did it. Maria Elena explains that Pope Francis relied on prayer for strength when his body was weak. When he passed away, the world mourned the loss of a religious leader. Maria Elena describes her brother's funeral as a large event. World leaders and religious personalities draw large crowds. Despite Jorge's embarrassment, letters from around the world began to arrive at Maria Elena's home in Buenoir. People wrote to tell her how Jorge had changed their lives through simple kindnesses. One letter came from a prisoner, the Pop. Maria Ella feels that his legacy does not involve church reforms or legislative changes. He influenced people's perspectives on what is genuinely important. Jorge demonstrated that simplicity does not necessarily imply poverty. According to the author, simplicity is the ability to contribute without considering the cost. This freedom enabled Pope Francis to fight powerful interests and speak out against environmental degradation, weapons manufacturers, and financial systems can harm the poor without regard for personal consequences. He was not fearless, according to Maria. Elena emphasizes that he felt dread, but he was more concerned about disappointing God than strong people in a world preoccupied with achievement and money. Pope Francis advocated for a life marked by service rather than possessions. Jorge did not die wealthy by the world's standards. Maria Elena opens a farewell letter from her brother, penned weeks before his death. The handwriting is wobbly but clear. "When I am gone, don't be upset about what I didn't have. Instead, be pleased about what I was able to offer. Everything I gave away made me richer in the things that matter. Love." Jorge Maria Elena carefully folds the letter that was his message to me. Perhaps it's his message to everyone in the end. Pope Francis left no money to fight over, fortune to share, or properties to sell. Instead, he left something far more valuable, an example of living with purpose and dying without regret. Jorge's sister honors his memory through simple acts of kindness, such as volunteering at a soup kitchen, visiting sick people, and writing to prisoners. She believes that the best way to honor Jorge is to live simply, with open hands and an open heart, as our world becomes more divided by wealth and status. Pope Francis's life teaches us that true riches is defined by the impact you have on people's hearts, not your financial account. The man who could have had everything opted to give it away, and as a result he became wealthy beyond our imagination. Maria Elena celebrates her brother's spiritual prosperity rather than his lack of financial achievement. Despite her tears, she smiles and adds, "Jorge did not leave us with money. He left us with meaning, which is why we cry."